That's it for Around the NFL. Kenny, you want to do an interview?
I love doing interviews.
This week we have the Titans, so let's go ahead and let's bring on somebody from the Middle Tennessee Browns backers.
I love Nashville.
Who doesn't?
I don't know, but if you do, you're wrong. If you don't.
Powered by Riverside FM.
All right, so in today's Browns backers interview series, we're going to be talking to the Middle Tennessee Browns backers. Craig Finch, welcome.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Good. Yeah, thanks for being with us here. So first of all, I mean, obviously, like I said, you guys are the Middle Tennessee Browns backers. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your chapter?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been established since 1988. I believe we've got over 200 active members currently in the club there. We meet every Sunday or every game day, so to speak. We meet at the Nashville Palace. It's a very, very nice venue. Accommodates, I think, over 400 or 500 people total. If we fill the place up there, we usually have, between 175, 200 members generally most Sundays. It's located close to Opry Mills Mall. So anyone that's in the Nashville area, that's a pretty big hot spot. Opryland, used to be there, used to be a theme park years ago, and they turned it into a mall. But we're a couple blocks from there. Like I said, great venue. My father-in-law is actually the president of the club. Great food, great drink specials, things of that. We always have 50-50 raffles, giveaway prizes, kids prizes. It's a real fun environment for sure.
So basically, if you're a Browns fan in Tennessee and in Nashville, it sounds like Nashville area specifically, you need to be here on game days, right? Nashville Palace.
Absolutely. It's the place to be for sure. And it's close to the airport, very easily accessible. I mean, you're probably 10 minutes, maybe at the most from the airport, probably about 15 minutes from downtown. So
nice.
A lot of cool things to check out in that area.
Yeah, for sure. And so with that being said, I mean, I know you mentioned some 50-50 raffles. I know that's kind of a way to raise money and those types of things. So are you guys involved with any community service, any charity work down there?
Yeah, I don't have the specifics on who we are connected to. I wish I would have had that information provided to me, but I do know we do donations. I believe the Humane Society is one of the ones we do. I know we do a food drive at the end of the year where we have, our members bring in canned goods and things of that nature as well. So there's definitely a lot of charitable activities taking place with us as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I know that's one of the things I think that gets overlooked sometimes about the Browns backers organizations is folks just think it's a bunch of Browns fans getting together to watch the game and hoot and holler.
Which it is.
And it is, but then there's also this component that's like very civic minded and trying to do, good things in the community. So I'm sure it's a little bit tough out there just because I'm sure that's Titans town, but every little bit helps. So, quick question too, just around like your viewing location and some of the events that you do have set up. Sounds like you said there's around 200 or so members in the group. Do you get that pretty consistently, and do you get a lot of like guests that show up, people from out of town?
If the season doesn't go as well, of course, you do see a little bit of that viewership drop off, at some points. But generally, it's been pretty well packed there for the last couple of years, where the excitement level's been real high. And we've got a big, huge, I think it's 160-inch viewing, like a, big projected type screen at the front. Also, a lot of different televisions around the rest of the bar. So, I mean, if someone's coming to check us out, there's no way you're going to miss the
Nice. What's your closest? Do you have like hostile fans come and bother you, like Cincinnati fans or anybody that
we're dedicated? We're a dedicated viewing location. So there's another viewing location in the same kind of parking lot that shows all the games. So generally speaking, we really don't have opposing teams, or especially the team we're playing. We don't usually have a whole lot of those fans come in. So I mean, it's primarily Browns only. I'm sure they let them come in. I remember years ago. Yeah, years ago we'd have a few, like we played the Ravens or something. You'd have a few that wanted to come in and just, that was their thing, I guess. But generally, most of the time, it's mostly all Browns fans.
Yeah, and that's the way to do it, because then, like you said, you don't have any of that these other teams trying to come in and harass you. We all know that everybody loves to harass Browns fans.
Right.
So no, with that, I mean, obviously a great viewing location that's dedicated to you guys. It sounds like you got a lot going on there. Are there any upcoming events that you're hosting or looking forward to, besides obviously just meeting every Sunday?
I know that my father-in-law met Bernie back at the president's meeting back a couple, 3 or so weeks ago. There's been discussions of at some point possibly trying to get him to come in and do a signing or something to that effect. We've had Kevin Mack before come in. Ernest Biner's been there, I believe. See, we usually, when we play the Titans, it's usually a massive, 2, 3, 4,000 Browns fans will kind of inundate Nashville. The last time we played them here and beat them in that really kind of crazy game where we were down 28-3 or 28 to something, and we came back in the second half and won. I mean, all you could hear in the entire stadium was barking and Browns fans, hooping and hollering. So it was a really big, funny kind of turn of events with that one. So, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's something that's going to be at some point in the works. I don't know if it'll happen this season or not, but I do know that those conversations have been had, and that is something to being discussed.
That's awesome. I was actually at that game in Nashville last time it went off, so it was a really good time.
I don't think people understand how well Browns fans travel. There's Browns fans everywhere.
Absolutely.
See, here in Tennessee,
I know that.
Go ahead. They have a thing where they say "tighten up." Is kind of their catchphrase, if you will. Like, we're here, we go Brownies. And all you heard in the first half of that game was everyone just tighten up, And then by the end of the third quarter, the first fourth quarter, it was you didn't hear that at all anymore. So it was pretty fun.
Tighten down.
Right. So I know part of the Browns backers deal is you don't want to really drive viewers away from the location, but do you have maybe like a one time a year or special occasions where you have either a block of tickets to go to a game or some kind of tailgate activities or anything like that?
We have in the past, yeah. We've done, as far as proximity to us, we've had a game where the whole club went to Atlanta, kind of like chartered a bus and did that. Actually, the last time when they did that to the Atlanta trip was when my last son, I have 4 children, 3 boys and a girl. So my wife and I didn't get to attend because we were in the hospital having our last child, but they do those every so often when there is a regional game. Like, we play the Colts every so often. I don't know if they're doing it this year. I think the Colts, is that in Cleveland? I can't recall. Pretty sure we play the Colts.
Off the top of my head,
yeah, I can't recall.
Yeah, I have to look at the schedule.
Yeah, and we definitely have done those type deals before, and it's of course, when you get 100 plus people typically or more, you can kind of get a big chunk of tickets and make something of it. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, sure. And so, I mean, yeah, you guys are doing good things down there. The fact that you've got that many showing up week in and week out is phenomenal. I know some of these places and some of these chapters struggle to have that viewership kind of stay the whole time, especially, just conveniences of people's homes. They just, Kenny loves watching at home. That's where he watches all the time. But
my house being remodeled.
But yeah, his house is being remodeled, so he needs a place like National Palace to go watch the game. But more on the football side of things here. So obviously, devastation this past week against the Steelers. So can you just kind of give us what your thoughts on the game were?
I mean, it was about as deflating as it could have been to me personally, because the opportunity was there for a big step forward. In my opinion, where we were positioned with our divisional win against Cincinnati, with the divisional opponent against the Steelers and the Ravens coming up in a couple of weeks, it was just a really great opportunity to, take advantage of conference wins, divisional wins, and just stick it to the Steelers, obviously. I believe that we would have overcame the quick pick six that took place if you didn't have the earth-shattering blow of Nick Chubb going down in the fashion that he did. to be perfectly honest with you, I believe that there was a lot of an indictment there on the coach and the quarterback, because those are, in my opinion, the two guys that you look to when adversity hits. You want your quarterback to put it on their back. You want him to say, it's okay, we're going to get through it, we're going to go win this game. And you want your head coach to kind of keep everybody, locked in and refocused on what the task is at hand. Obviously, that kind of a loss had an impact on their mental state. I mean, I believe as a fan, he's my favorite player. I'm wearing his jersey right now. I have my fantasy team named after him. I mean, it was a substantially depressing blow to take. But at the end of the day, you still have to just turn the page and move forward. And I feel like we were so deflated that it was not going to, even when we had the lead at 22-19, I believe it was, I still didn't have that, like, we've got this feeling. I had the, what's coming next kind of feeling. But, you got to move forward. We got Titans this week, so I'm excited that they've signed Kareem Hunt. I believe that will immediately bring back into that locker room a little bit of energy and a spark plug, because he immediately has rapport with the players already there. Familiar with the offensive schemes. I don't think that it's an immediate plug and play, like he's not going to come in and start on that game, but I believe his role will quickly be what it once was, if not even more, with Chubb's absence.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And you you talked about a few things there. First of all, the indictment on the coach and the quarterback. I think we both agree with you there. Especially in Chubb's stead the rest of the season. They're going to have to step up. Deshaun's going to have to be the $230 million quarterback that we brought him in to be. And Kevin Stefanski's going to have to take a huge, or Stefanik, as we like to call him on this program, because we don't respect him when he coaches the way he did this week. But he's going to have to step up and just, kind of galvanize this team and help them come together in the wake of that injury, because you're right. No, you can't, there's no way to replace a Nick Chubb. Nobody can replace a Nick Chubb. Sure, Kareem's going to come in and he's going to do what he can, but nobody can replace that. And you as the coach and you as the quarterback need to lead and get these guys in a good headspace to play every week and give them that person to look to. So.
Right. Like, I don't want to say they quit or gave up, but I just feel like it was such a huge opportunity that they could have, pushed through. I guess my thing is, like, you want to see in that situation, your team is going to probably either A, quit, or B, get mad and turn that mad and that frustration into the fire that will push them to that next level. And I hope that after, they've had a few days to kind of process what happened, that will be the mentality that they have moving forward. As I heard Anthony Walker today said, the rest of this season is going to be dedicated to Nick Chubb. And I genuinely hope that is a message that will resonate through the organization, because that guy's given everything he can. I mean, that guy works, to the end of the day and then some. So you really want the players to maybe appreciate that this could have been something and still could be something special, but it's going to take everybody putting everything they can forward to make that happen. Because there is a little bit of a factor of there's some teams that are currently down that people didn't expect to be down. So when you've got that opportunity in front of you, you really have to take full advantage of it in the immediate sense.
Well, I think that's what's so doubly frustrating about this week's game is Pittsburgh's not a very good football team. So you can't kick yourself. When you have those opportunities to beat teams that you're clearly better than, and the defense played so well during the entire game.
Yeah, you doubled them up. I mean, we had twice as many first downs, twice as many yards. They didn't take a snap within the 20-yard in the red zone. So when you look at those metrics, those analytics, I mean, you can't look at that and say anything other than that quarterback on that field. And I'm a guy who I had mixed feelings about Deshaun Watson on the initial side because, of course, all the personal aspects of things around. My wife can't stand the guy personally, but I also saw the bigger picture that this person, from a skill set standpoint, could arguably be the best quarterback we had. But you've got to you got to take advantage of those moments. And I guess I would say, like, looking at the Patrick Mahomes of the world, the Josh Allens, the certain, just insert, those guys, given the ball 2.5 minutes to go in the game, you still got a timeout in your pocket. You want that guy to go take you and win that game. And that's not what happened. So, I mean, there's a guy that's on YouTube named Wyatt's World who said he believes he's walking around with a guilty conscience on his mind. He's not what he once was from a player relation standpoint. A lot of guys don't like him, and they probably don't mix words about that. And so that's affecting his psyche. And so, in my opinion, you've got to get that worked out. I mean, I grew up playing golf. A lot of golf is played in the 6 inches between your ears. So in this case, it's a psych. You don't forget how to play football. You don't lose that ability and that skill set when you've done this your whole life. But you can lose sight of mental clarity and focus and being able to get your head in the right mindset. And I just don't know if he's there yet. And it's super uber frustrating because I was one of those guys that stuck my head out and said, hey, this could be great. This guy could this guy could take us to the promised land, all discretions aside. And I'm hoping that that's still the case. Truly, I do. I do. But
I feel like me and you are like kindred spirits because your exact scenario that you just described there is my life. My wife hates him too. And I was like, I agree that the things that he's accused of are terrible. But like you said, I kind of saw, I took everything in and assessed everything instead of just hanging up on that. And now I'm kind of like, well, was it right? I don't know.
Well, I think what's really interesting there is sorry, go ahead.
I was born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. So there wasn't a Tennessee Titans team here when I was a child. I'm 44 years old. So I grew up a 49ers fan. And the reason that was they were on television, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, even transgress into Steve Young, Terrell Owens. So, I mean, they were a team that was just kind of like your New England Patriots or your Kansas City Chiefs now. They were showcased often. So that was a team that was on TV, and I had an uncle who rooted for them. When I met my wife, I went to a few Browns games at their club viewing area at the time, and the Browns fandom was so contagious, and so like the environment and the experience that the fans brought, because at that time we're talking like Jeff Garcia, if you remember the helmet, I can't recall the guy, Rudd, pulling the helmet off. I mean, those kind of experience, those kind of years in that period of time. But the fans were so diehard and so committed to their team that they loved being there, rooting them on, even if they weren't good. I found, man, I'm really going to be watching a lot of these guys play, and I kind of like these people, and that's how I became a fan. That being said, it's a matter of, just understanding that you do have to eventually turn that next page. Like, it's harder to be, where you are every year in that swimming in mediocrity versus actually getting it right. And with Deshaun Watson, we all kind of we've been there so long wanting that, that championship or wanting that, that success, that we were willing to say for the sake of football, because I told my wife, I said, look, at the end of the day, if you're a Browns fan, you want the Browns to win and you're rooting for the Browns, and that guy that's behind the helmet is that guy. And she was a Baker fan. She still is. I mean, my oldest son still likes Baker a lot. And I didn't ever really have a problem with him. But, it's not my job to evaluate whether they think he can get you to that promised land. And that's what people in those positions do. So I just kind of looked at it as like, hey, if I'm not going to stop rooting for the Browns, then I'm going to have to be on board with this and go with it. And it's going to be, he's going to win and he's not, but I mean, that's what you're hoping is going to happen, is that he gets over this hump and we take that next step.
Yeah. Craig, that's very well put. I mean, that's kind of where I was at as well. So
I got to tell you, that's probably the most interesting story about becoming a Browns fan I've ever heard, because at no point did you get to relish in any of the good of the Browns. A lot of us grew up, at least our parents, told us tales of the times that the Browns were good. You came in shortly after Tim Couch got benched and Jeff Garcia was in town and decided this is a team that you can root for. I mean, what a story.
Yeah, and mean, I've got a shirt that says "I married into this." I don't wear it that often, but I was given that as a Christmas present once from my mother and father-in-law. And the idea is that, like, when they do get there, like when it does happen, because I'd like to believe there's also a shirt that I have that I'm sure y'all have seen. We just won before I die. I've witnessed Super Bowl championships for the team that I loved as a child, so I know how that feels. And when this does happen, when we get to that next place and we actually do it, then it will be all the better. Like, I mean, the 0-16 and the 1-15 season won't matter one single bit when you're holding that Super Bowl trophy. So, I mean, that's kind of the idea and principle, is that's why fans are fanatics. I mean, we love our teams, we love our sports. And also, I guess, full disclosure, I grew up a Vanderbilt Commodore fan because I grew up about 10 minutes from the stadium, and my dad's a huge Vandy fan. So I watched a whole lot of not good football in my lifetime. So it wasn't that hard of an adjustment to make, because I root for Vandy no matter what, and they really can't beat hardly anyone half the time. So, so I guess in that sense, I had a little bit of a kinship to the fans as far as that goes.
Yeah, no, great story there. I do want to take a look at this week's game, though, and kind of move us forward here just a little bit. Obviously, We're playing the Tennessee Titans. It's our week 3 matchup, and you're there kind of right in their backyard. So can you give us a little insight as to what kind of their local sports commentators are saying about not only their team in this season, but this game specifically?
Honestly, I haven't heard a lot, just because I listen more to Browns radio on my phone. But I will tell you that from my assessment, I feel like they're probably looking at us and saying we're a great team to stop the run. They don't really have a formidable running attack now that their running back has gone down. We know Ford is potentially very, he can fill this role fairly well, or at least he looked like he could on Monday night. But I feel like they're going to probably try to take away any opportunity to run the ball, which means, going back to our other comments, the onus will fall on Deshaun Watson. They do not have what is perceivably a very strong secondary or pass defense. So if there ever was an opportunity for him to so-called right the ship, that would be what they need to do. And I think Tennessee probably realizes that they're vulnerable on that side of the defense. So it's going to be kind of a matter of, can he go out there and go beat them? With our defense being as strong as it appears to be, I believe that we should be able to bottle up Derrick Henry. I think that he is kind of at the beginning stages of that. When you see a running back lose a little bit of a step, I don't know that he is as dominant as he was a couple of years ago. I believe Tennessee has kind of overutilized his skills there for a while. Like, they really ran that horse a lot. And of course, they have not, gotten the best complement of offensive weaponry around him. Tannehill is Tannehill. I mean, he's a starting quarterback, but he's at that bottom tier of starting quarterbacks, in my opinion. He probably falls somewhere in that 32 to 24 range, as far as what he's able to bring to the table. DeAndre Hopkins, who I would have loved to seen us sign, hasn't done so much so far. Traylon Burks, also, second year, kind of unproven to a certain extent. I mean, but again, that could have more to do with who's throwing him the ball. And as far as their defensive front, I mean, I believe that they're going to be a solid, defensive opponent for us. But I do believe we have more weapons than they do, and I do believe we can exploit some of those matchups. I think Njoku could potentially have a little bit of a better game this week than he has shown so far. I would say that would about cover it. I mean, as far as what I feel like we should be able to dictate our own terms. I mean, if we keep them in check defensively, then I don't think we have to go out and score 31 points or something to win this game. I think we can, kind of get our stuff together offensively enough to, take care of business. But I don't think we have to go out there and get in a boat race with them, so to speak.
Has the quarterback chatter started there at this point, or does it still feel like this is Tannehill's team when you have Will Levis sitting there on the sidelines?
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be tabled until the record dictates that it's not. I mean, they should not have won against the Chargers. I watched some of that game on Red Zone because we weren't playing until Monday night, and the Chargers, as they have done last year at times, and how they've so far done this year, is they don't know how to get out of their own way. So, I mean, when you score at a pretty good clip like they tend to do, you should not be in games with Tennessee that, they should have come in there and scored, 35 points on them because they are a passing offensive team. So I don't think that the quarterback conversation will, start chirping until, if say they find themselves 1-4, 1-5 or something like that. I don't know when their bye week is, but you've got the guy from Kentucky, Will Levis. You've also got Malik Willis there. So you've got a couple of young guys that may, be itching for the opportunity. And if your season becomes lost, I think that's when you make that call. I just don't know which one's, got a higher pecking order in their eyes.
And is there still a lot of confidence in the head coach there?
I think Vrabel has probably got himself enough credit built up in the organization that, they would need to have more than one bad season for him to be on the proverbial hot seat. Because, I mean, you don't usually, good organizations, and I'm not necessarily saying the Titans are a good organization, but good organizations don't make knee-jerk, decisions to can a guy if they have a bad season. Usually you'll get at least a couple of years. Now, if they were to, only win 2 or 3 games or something, if that were the case, because, I mean, their division is not particularly difficult, with the Houston and an Indianapolis in there, though Indianapolis is kind of a little better than I think maybe people thought. If you win 2 or 3 games, who knows, all bets may be off. But as long as he shows that he's, still got control of everyone and running things like he should, I think the organization would probably, give him another year or 2 at least, because you got these young quarterbacks. I mean, you just drafted Will Levis. If you believe you made the right call as a GM, I don't know that you want to make that kind of a change. Usually when you make something like that, I feel like that's kind of like an off-season pair a coach, pair a quarterback initially. And they're kind of in that limbo state where they can't really do that if you're still sitting there with the veteran.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
One final thing. Do you know why Will Levis and his girlfriend broke up?
I do recall seeing her on TikTok a bunch there right around the draft time, so I don't know the details there, but she did get kind of TikTok famous for about a month.
Yeah.
Oh, I just
no, so with
Cam Akers is being traded, it looks like.
Oh, who's you going to?
I don't know. It popped up on my phone and then just said Cam Akers being traded.
Breaking news from Craig Finch. Cam Akers has been traded to where we don't know. He's a half reporter.
I would guess the Raiders, but
yeah.
I don't have confirmation on that yet. So Mike can tell you. Let's see. Cam Akers traded to the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh,
interesting.
Wow. That's interesting.
Well, because they wouldn't sign Dalvin Cook in the offseason, so
yeah,
they needed a new one.
You realized they needed a running back still.
I didn't expect
That's why they're 0-2.
Yeah.
Usually you want to trade out of the conference if you can, but I guess they may not feel like he's a significant liability for them. So, I mean, wouldn't come back to hurt him, I guess.
I mean, he's been sitting the bench there. So
right. Exactly.
But no, so with you talked about their team versus our team, what they have going for them or don't, and same with the Browns. So with that, I mean, what do you think is going to happen this week? Do you have a prediction, a score prediction,
sure.
Or even just kind of how you think the game's going to go?
I believe that if we can get a Watson that is closer to what we all hope him to be, I mean, it could get to that, like, say, 27-13, 27-10 kind of a range. If we get a Watson closer to what we've seen so far, it could be more of a dogfight, which I hope it's not. I mean, I really would love to see one of those right the ship kind of a games. I mean, you're going to start to hear that chatter really pretty quickly grow if he continues to play at this level, where he's not getting it done. So in this case, it's kind of a perfect opportunity for him to hopefully clear some of that out. I mean, I'd love to see a 300-yard game, for example, couple 2-3 touchdowns, something like that. Maybe a couple touchdowns in the air and one on the ground. I mean, there's another one of those opportunities right in front of you, because if you lose this game, gosh forbid, you're now 1-2, and then you're you're playing the Ravens. The wheels could come off of this fairly quickly. And I think that's really unfair because of all the circumstances here with Chubb and all that. But if you win this game and you do so in a decent fashion, everything goes kind of to a reset. You go back to okay, we're playing the Ravens next week. We could be, 2-1 in the division and 3-1 in the conference. There's a lot there in this first 4 or 5 games. So yeah, I would say 27. I feel so good about the defense. I say 27-10, best case scenario, and could be more like 17-13 if it. I still feel like we find a way to win this game, in my opinion.
I like that. I honestly, we'll get into our predictions later on in our podcast, but I like where your head's at, and I hope that you're right. I hope that you're right.
Yeah, and I'll say, Craig, we appreciate the time today, especially coming off a really tough loss, and not so much even a loss, but the loss of Nick Chubb. I mean, I think your words were very succinct, very heartfelt. I think a lot of Cleveland is feeling the same way right now. So just appreciate the way you were able to kind of phrase that and bring that all together, especially being boots on the ground here, giving us some insight into the Titans. I would say this was a very, very insightful conversation. I would say come back and join us anytime. Nashville's kind of our second home. We love it down there.
I love Nashville.
It's one of our favorite places to go and play golf and eat and hang out. So hopefully we'll cross paths again, but we really appreciate the time with you today.
Hey, I certainly appreciate it. Yeah, I'd love to come back anytime you'd like. So
thanks a lot, Craig. We appreciate it.
We're the Middle Tennessee Browns backers, and you're listening to Burning River Sportscast. Go Browns.
What a good interview. Craig was pretty insightful there.
Craig sounds like he's someone that talks football on the reg.
Yeah, I wonder if he has a podcast.
His own podcast.
Yeah, he should come on our podcast. Maybe we could bring him on. He could be our correspondent, our field correspondent.
I like that. Good. Well done, Craig. Well done.
Good job, Craig.
No, that's why I always like talking to Browns backers. I just think that the Browns backers pay attention at a different level. If you sit and listen to like local radio and the guys that call in and they're like, "Bro, Nick Chubb sucks," like get out of here.
Not to bash on some of our local radio guys, but even some of our local radio guys don't know as much as Craig Finch.
True. Agreed.
So
Craig Finch is the GOAT.
But that'll take us to the Burning River Sportscast Top 10 Headline.